If you're wondering where to invest in property under $400,000, then you need to watch the entire video because I'm going to give you a couple of locations that you can consider. Now, of course, like always, make sure you do your due diligence and don't solely rely on this video. However, I'm making this video to bring locations towards your attention that you can consider. And the first location that I want to bring your attention to is Mildura. Mildura is a location 8 hours away from Melbourne CBD in a remote location across the border of New South Wales and Victoria. And you can definitely find properties for under $400,000. And if we have a look at Mildura on H-Tag, over the past 10 years, we can actually see that Mildura has consistently performed year on year, averaging about 10% growth every single year. Now, you can sometimes argue it has even overperformed for a regional location. And this location doesn't necessarily follow the characteristics of most regional locations. They go through a massive growth spurt, then they flatline for a really long time, and then they go through another growth spurt, whereas Mildura has consistently performed year on year. And if we can scroll down, we can see that there are general rent increases, the IRSAD score isn't too bad, as well as affordability is very good under 30 years. We can see the renter to owner occupier ratio is also 37%, which is good. Not great, but it's good. We can see demand starting to decrease a little bit, but we want to see that trend increase over time and stock on market to decrease further if we want to see a really rapid growth in price. One negative we can see is that vacancy rate isn't looking too good, with it rising since about February of 2024, now above 2%. So that's one of the downsides. There's more vacancies in Mildura at this point in time, and as more investors come into this area, we can see that trend likely increase as well. However, Mildura on a macro level is also very good when we can see the economic diversity of healthcare, agriculture, retail, trade, very diverse, with no industry sector taking over more than 25% of its location. And we can also look at the economic output, where agriculture, construction, and manufacturing lead the way, but it's not dominant on one side like a mining town, for example. So Mildura is a very good location that you can consider for under $400,000 budget if you're looking for a house. And all you have to do is actually look on realestate.com and you can see there are many properties under that mark. Some are units, but a lot of them are houses under $400,000, which you can consider. So that is location number one. What other locations can you consider? Well, I've got some for you. It's another location that you can consider investing into for under $400,000. Well, that location is Hamilton. Now, Hamilton does offer an opportunity for investors to actually invest into the area who are looking for an affordable investment property under $400K. Hamilton mainly thrives on sort of agriculture, healthcare, and some education and retail sectors as well. It's reasonably diverse for a very small town, and it's often referred to as the wool capital of the world. Now, when we look at Hamilton's data, one thing you'll stand out is that it's gone through a bit of a cyclical change, unlike Mildura, which has consistently performed over the last 10 years. We can see that Hamilton went through quite a big growth spurt, like I said, about regional areas, and either flatlines or does go down slightly. And this has gone down quite a bit over the past year, minus 5% negative growth. Now, generally speaking, I don't want to invest into areas that are falling down because you don't know how long it's going to keep falling for. However, we can see it's starting to flatten out a little bit. Now, that could mean a situation where we catch the falling knife, so to speak, and we look at investing when it's at the bottom and take a counter-cyclical approach to investing. So I wouldn't be rushing into Hamilton to secure a property right now because we don't know if we can get the growth there straight away. However, it's a location to consider and watch and closely monitor about whether or not we should jump into this area. And if we look at the fundamentals of it, great renter to owner occupier ratio, great affordability for a rural town, low building approvals, declining stock on market. So there's less and less stock coming onto the market, which should put some house price pressure and start to flatten out that growth and possibly lead into another roll. We can see vacancies are incredibly low. I mean, it's just plummeted. Inventory is also pretty low. So the actual microeconomics of the area are looking quite good with a good amount of infrastructure spend as well. And so we really want to closely watch this area and see what it does in the next 3 to 6 months, because I think it is one to watch, but it's not one to jump in straight away unless you're really looking for that counter-cyclical strategy and you're really looking to just invest when no one else is looking there at this point in time. And we can see when we look at the sector employment, agriculture, healthcare, retail, trade, reasonably diverse. Obviously do your due diligence when it comes to its macros as well. And all we have to do is look at realestate.com and we can see properties for under $400,000 with great square meterage. So we can definitely do something with the properties down the line as well. So once again, Hamilton is another location that you can consider for the under $400,000 budget. And before we go into the other locations, if you have not already, guys, make sure you are subscribed subscribe to the private community. We discuss these locations on an everyday basis with new and new locations being talked about every single day. And if you're not part of the community, you are going to miss out on an opportunity that does come up, because I will alert you as soon as it does. People have different strategies, and the only way you'll know about them is if you connect with other people, you connect with a like-minded community, and you have access to the resources to make sure your investment strategy is the right one. It's literally $35 a month. It's an absolute no-brainer, and there's a money-back guarantee as well. If you don't like it, get a refund. And like always, if you have not already, make sure you are subscribed to my private and free newsletter. I go through a new location every single week. It's an absolute no-brainer. Jump into it. You will not regret it. Now, what is the next location you can consider? And that is Shepparton and in Victoria. And if you're wondering why all these locations are in Victoria, that's because that's where I think the opportunity lies, and that's where the data suggests to find good houses under $400,000. So the other locations as well are in Victoria, just for frame of reference, but I have considered other locations throughout Australia as well when putting this list together. So about Shepparton. Shepparton has properties all the way from $300,000 to about $800,000. However, in Shepparton, you need to be really careful about which pockets you buy. Some of these top areas are full of public housing commission areas with $300,000 properties or even less, and sometimes around this bottom section as well, around Westmoreland Crescent, you find more public housing. However, near the hospitals, near the shops and these areas, you can find properties around the $400,000 to $500,000 mark. But there are still opportunities for under $400,000. It's very rare, but there are still areas there. And Shepparton is quite an interesting location, being 2 hours away from Melbourne CBD, achieving roughly a 5% yield, and something that has also been consistently growing. I mean, it's grown a big COVID spurt as well, but then it has only flatlined. It hasn't gone down like some other locations like Ballarat, which I'll get into as well. There's a decent amount of infrastructure spend, a good population of about 70,000 in total, all right rented to owner occupier ratio, good affordability at 30 years, and we are starting to see stock starting to decrease under the median line. I also have got a tip that some buyers agents are buying in this area as well. However, buyers agents are also buying everywhere, to be completely fair. We want to see stock continue to decrease to get that confidence to go invest into this area, and demand also to decrease to have that extra bit of confidence. However, if you are the counter-cyclical investor, this is a location you can consider. Shepparton does have a very diverse economy in healthcare, education, retail trade, agriculture and forestry, as well as food manufacturing. It is not a one-trick pony town, and it also does have a massive hospital and university within the area, which has gone through a large development and renovation as well. And you can do a bit of research around that. And in this location, you can find properties for under $400,000. Like I said, you need to be careful. Like this one, I'm pretty sure is in a public housing street. I wouldn't consider that, but there are other properties under or near $400,000, which you can just squeeze into if you are smart about the way you invest into property. So I think Shepparton is another good location that I want to bring your attention to. Of course, again, do your due diligence, make sure it's the right investment location for you. And what is the final location you can consider? At least for this video anyway. I might do a second part to this video as well. If you guys really want it, comment second part down below. And if you are considering, and the final location that I think is worth considering, once again, if you're the counter-cyclical investor, if you want to invest into areas before anyone else is there, Ballarat is a location you can invest into. Now, Ballarat is huge. Ballarat has a population of about 120,000 people. It's not some small rural town. It's got an economy of $7.7 billion. So it's not some tiny regional town like Hamilton, which has more risk associated to it. However, Ballarat is an interesting one. There's a lot of development happening, a lot of infrastructure spend, a lot of new suburbs and new houses coming to the area, but there's also locations where you can get properties under $400,000. Now, I want to stress, once again, it is very rare. The properties you're going to get aren't the greatest quality, might need some maintenance, might need some touch-up, might need some minor renovations. If you're an intelligent investor and you can see opportunities when no one else is looking, then Ballarat can be an option for you. I do want to stress again, I made this point in my video specifically about Ballarat, that it's not growing at a million miles an hour. It's also gone through a bit of a growth spurt during COVID, and it's gone through that decline, and now it's flatlining as you can see here. We want to see some positive price movement before we do jump into an area, because we don't know how long it's going to stay at the bottom four. However, Ballarat has become increasingly affordable for owner occupiers and, to be fair, investors as well. One of the downsides with Ballarat is the yield isn't as great for a regional area, around the 4% mark. However, that's most cases with regional Victoria. We can see stock starting to decline, and we want to see that continued trend of decline before we do jump into it, because the supply or the lack of supply will actually be the key indicator of whether or not not capital growth will start occurring. And once again, we can see demand starting to decrease as well, which is good science, but we want to see that trend continue for a bit longer, 3 to 6 months, before we jump into it. However, if you are the counter-cyclical investor, you can consider this location because there are properties for under $400,000 that you can look into and you can consider. Some of them are houses that will need renovation, some of them are townhouses, some of them are units, but you can secure it if you are patient, if you find the right property and the right location. And to be fair, Ballarat, economically diverse, not a small town, very large into healthcare, retail, trade, education, training, construction, etc. We can also have a look at its economic output, and we look at economic value and we look at output. Now we can see construction, manufacturing, healthcare are the biggest sectors of Ballarat. So safe, economically diverse, large regional location, gone through a COVID boom, it's gone down, it's flattening out. We want to see how long it stays at the bottom. We want to see some improvement in trends before we see capital growth. But if you are that counter-cyclical investor investing when others are not investing to the area, then this is a location that you can consider. So that's just some locations under $400,000 that you can consider. And if you have not already, join the private community. We discuss these locations every single day. We give our thoughts, comments where people are buying. We have people in Ballarat, we have people in Melbourne, we have people in Queensland, all helping each other out because that's what it's about. And if you want to invest property in the intelligent way, you need to do it with the right network. So make sure you jump into it. And if you have not, make sure you check this video out because it tells you exactly where you should be investing in 2025. Till next time, thank you.